Okay, good evening. Welcome to the March 25th Finance Committee meeting. And the first order of business tonight is to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, my name is Chris Allen. Donovan O'Connell couldn't make it here tonight. I'm the vice chair. He is the chair, so I am taking over his duties, in case you're wondering. And I see we have a nice crowd here tonight, so the next thing on the agenda is public comment, if anybody would like to come up and speak during public comment. We are also having a public hearing, which will come after, so if you want to wait until that, that's fine. Okay, if no one coming up for public comment. Okay, so then what we need to do is I need a motion to move into,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I thought you were explaining the second part with the, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. I mean, we have,
What's the difference between the public comment and the public?
for the Finance Committee, not a lot, honestly, because public comment talks about anything that's not pertinent to the finances or something that's not on the agenda, you know, that sort of thing. In the public hearing, it's about the whole budget. And you can ask us anything you want about the budget, or or not so much ask, but like express what you want. So in this instance, public comment and public hearing are like shmeh. So if you want to wait for public hearing, it's fine, because you'll be heard one way or the other.
I appreciate it for the clarification too, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so then why don't we just go into public hearing. Again, I will entertain a motion to go into our public hearing.
I move we enter a public hearing.
Give a second?
Second.
Okay. And everyone in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. Okay, we are now in public hearing. And if anybody would like to come up and have a comment or talk to us, have any concerns? Just the same as public comment, just give us your name and address.
I'm being told the sound isn't great.
All right, let's move this a little closer. Hope this is better.
Okay.
All right, we'll try again. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, I'm Shannon Gately, 40 Phillips Court. Sure by now that you are all aware of who I am, but if not, I'm the write-in candidate for the school committee position, and I have been at the polls pretty much all day. And I'm also one of the admins for the Friends and Family North Andover Public School page, and I help run that grassroots movement. And I come here today because I think you've been underestimating our group, and especially me. Our group grows by the day, and after the cuts on Friday, we had over 400 new member requests, 100 yard sign orders just in the last 3 days, and rapidly growing with requests every day. We even organized a rally within less than 12 hours with media coverage. I wear this Mama Bear shirt today because at a previous school committee meeting, I mentioned how my son is on an IEP, and he is only thriving because of Kittredge and the above and beyond care from the teachers he gets, because he didn't get that at his other North Andover school. And I won't sit by and watch you take that away from my cub and all the cubs in this town. And if you haven't noticed, I am willing to protect them fiercely, since the other committee members won't. So I'm here tonight to say, will you protect them and help them set them up for success? Or are you going to set the course for our kids and for our teachers to fail? You probably came here tonight with your minds made up and listening to us out of obligation. But I would like to remind you, like last week, that you still have the power to make this right, to provide the funds that has been proven this town has. Keep Kittredge open for one more year just to see if the debt exclusion passes and stop these detrimental cuts in order to implement a more comprehensive plan to be designed. You can decline this proposed budget and implement the original LSB. If you choose not to step up and do what's best for our schools, in turn, best for our town, then please know that I am willing to keep spearheading this campaign and telling every single person I see that they have a voice and a power to speak up. And I will do this and much, much, much more every day all the way to town meeting. Remember, our Facebook group has 1,500 members and is growing by the day, and a majority of them feel the same way that I do, and they're ready to take action. So imagine what we can do. Imagine what I will do next. I don't know about you, but I teach my child that doing what is right isn't always easy. It's usually hard, but that's what integrity looks like, and it's the kind of person you want to be. So what kind of person are you? And like I said at the last meeting, everyone loves a hero. Do the right thing, be our heroes, save our schools, save our town. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mandy Amasagi. I live in Methuen. I am a first grade teacher at Atkinson, and this is my 18th year there. I gave an almost identical public comment at the school committee meeting about 2.5 weeks ago, and I wanted to share the same message with all of you. I realize that when we're discussing the school budget, the focus is on the money and where it comes from. I also realize that you are the Finance Committee and that is why you are here. I am here, of course, on behalf of all of my colleagues and all of the students in this town, but I am especially here tonight on behalf of my 40 colleagues who received notification last Friday that they won't have jobs next year. And I am also here especially for the students whose needs will not be met in the coming years as a result of an underfunded budget. I want to remind you that it is not the students and teachers who should pay so heavily for the budget deficit, but instead, the students and teachers should be given more consideration in working to find a solution to the budget deficit. It is not simply a matter of dollars and cents or line items on a spreadsheet. It is a matter of education and where it will get our students in life. I am essentially being asked at this point to do more with less in the coming years. But that is not possible, and it does not allow me to meet the actual needs of my students. I may still be able to cover the same materials, but that is by no means the same as teaching. Ultimately, it does not afford a fair and equally accessible education for all of my students as it should. I trust you have high hopes for all of our students, but we, the educators, cannot meet all of their needs without the financial support of a levelly funded budget. It is sad to say, but true, this town has historically spent very little on their students. North Andover seems perplexed by why we face such considerable budget deficits. Well, low per pupil expenditure is actually causing the budget deficits. These two things really go hand in hand. I'm terribly discouraged and disheartened by the school committee's willingness to accept what they believe to be our reality, an underfunded school budget. North Andover needs to figure out a way to make the students their priority, and I urge this committee to take action. I ask that you help change the narrative. North Andover students deserve a high-quality education, and the town should be willing to pay for it. I urge you to put the students and their needs first, and then work to make it happen. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me? My name is Jennifer Fraser. I live at 25 Herrick Road, and I'm here tonight as a teacher and a concerned resident, and I'm a high school Spanish teacher with more than 20 years experience who chose to begin working in North Andover 6 years ago to be able to work in the community that I love and where I also live. As both a resident and teacher here, I'm incredibly invested in our schools. I have 2 Thompson Tigers. I'm also one of 5 of the 9 teachers that was let go on Friday in the World Language Department and one of the 40 across the district. I'm just one teacher out of the 40, but to give you an idea of what a single teacher can represent in a district, here are some numbers of what I've done in my time at North Andover High School. Each year I teach 5 classes to about 120 students ranging from Spanish 1 to AP, the most advanced course that we offer. I am the advisor for the Seal of Biliteracy program, which gives graduating seniors the opportunity to demonstrate their proficiency in English and another language, earning up to 15 credits for college. I've chaperoned our exchange trip to Spain. I advise various clubs, including the Interact Club and the Female Empowerment Club, and have written countless letters of recommendation for seniors applying to college who have valued their experiences and growth in a world language class. There are, sadly, about 39 other teachers who could stand up here and list similar contributions, and what a loss for our children. For that reason, I'm standing here to ask that you consider allocating more money to properly fund our school budget to avoid the elimination of language programs and the reduction of so many teachers who have so very much to contribute to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Aw.
Thank you. My name is Alejandro Sarabia. I live in High Street, 65 High Street. And I'm one of the teachers who also got the letter this Friday. And I just want to tell you that for me, it's extremely important that we provide the education our kids need. So I am a person from the town and a person from the school. And I really believe that education is one of the most important factors for our students to grow. I hold a PhD in education, in school administration, and I know by the things that I wrote in my dissertation that the better funded schools do much better to their kids, and it's one of the best dividers, or the best ways to improve the life of others is by improving their school experience in general. So schools need to be funded if we need our kids to succeed in their lives. So talking about me a little bit, as you may notice, I wrote this. I cannot disguise my age. I worked at different schools, from middle school to college, including private, public, charter, rural, and boarding schools. And I'm honestly saying that the most professional, articulate, and helpful department I worked at is the one that has been dismantled last week with the cuts. It really hurts. Really, really hurts. When I say I finally found this great group, it's just we're not getting to what we can do. By cutting the whole department or the whole section of the department in the middle school is not getting us to fulfill what we have been doing so far for years. Is the eyes of the tip of the iceberg, which is the IP, is gone. So how are we going to show off our data? How are we going to attract new families who want their kids to have the best education? AP, you know, is one of the main factors that qualify for a good school. And you know the numbers. You know how schools are evaluated. And now you are going to cut that number by a significant amount of points or whatever they measure that. Okay? Just a little more about me. I want to read, and forgive my English. I can go in Spanish, but probably you will not follow me. So I will read what one student just wrote a few days ago, just to show what I represent for her, but we, the teachers, represent for every single student in the school. She says, "Thank you for being such a kind person with the biggest heart and the most generosity. Thank you for attending every musical and choir concert that I have been part of. Thank you for continuing believing in me always when I have a hard time believing in myself. Your acts of kindness are so important to me that I'm so thankful for the person you are. Forming connections with you is so special, and I'm so grateful to have had you as a teacher, a mentor, and a friend. You always said, it is an honor to teach you, but let me say that it is an honor to learn from you and to know you. You are so inspirational to so many people, and your kindness is truly so appreciated. I will continue to expand my knowledge and learning of Spanish because of the people like you, and I will never forget the amount of kind acts you have done for me." That's the end of this. And here, as you leaders of the community, I ask you to find and allocate the money we need to provide for the level of education our kids and our town deserves. It is it's known that the value of a town depends on the value of its schools. Great schools, great towns. Poor schools, poor towns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Christine Jordan from Haverhill. You should know that I absolutely hate public speaking, which is ironic given that I'm a teacher. But I'm not here for me tonight. I'm here for the kids, and I would do anything for them. Like I stated, my name is Christine Jordan, and I'm proud to stand before you tonight as a dedicated 7th grade science teacher at North Andover Middle School. But I'm more than just a teacher. I'm someone whose heart and soul have been deeply intertwined with this district for well over a decade. In 2011, I stepped into the North Andover school system as a student teacher, both eager and inspired, and over the next few years, I would serve as long-term and building substitute and a teaching assistant. It was in this district that I met my husband and built friendships that have stood the test of time. And though my career initially took me to another district for 9 years, when the opportunity arose 2 years ago to return to North Andover, I did not hesitate. Oop. Where did it go? There we go, sorry. Because North Andover isn't just a school district, it's a home. It's a place where teachers don't just pass through, we stay, we grow, we invest in our students, in our community. And for the past 2 years here, I've poured everything I have into my students. I've watched them struggle, persevere, and thrive, and I've built connections that cannot be measured in numbers or budget lines. So when I was pulled from my classroom on Friday and told that my position was being cut, my first thought was not about myself, it was about my students sitting back in my classroom expecting me to return. The same students who depend on their teachers, not just for lessons, but for support, for stability, and for someone who truly sees them. We talk a lot about social emotional learning. We recognize how critical it is for students to feel seen, heard, and supported. No high-quality curriculum or professional development can replace the bond between a teacher and a student and their teacher. When we lose teachers, we lose those relationships, we lose the safety nets that keep our kids engaged, motivated, and successful. With larger class sizes and fewer staff, more students will slip through the cracks, behaviors will rise, and learning will suffer. And the very foundation of what makes North Andover special, the strength of our schools, the heart of our educators, and the future of our children will begin to erode. Tonight, I'm asking you to truly consider what is at stake. Budgets are about numbers, but education is about people, about our children, about the future of this town. I urge you to please reconsider the level services budget. Please stand up for the teachers who have given so much, and for our students who need us now more than ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Victoria Leonardo. I don't have anything prepared on paper, but I'm going to just speak from the heart. I relocated, I moved to Salisbury.
Can you tell us your address, please?
Yes, 191 Beach Road in Salisbury, Massachusetts.
Thank you.
As I was just about to say, I relocated to Salisbury,
Oh, I'm
Mass.
sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to give the address then, but I apologize for not starting with that. I relocated to Salisbury, Mass. From Providence, Rhode Island, specifically for the position of 8th grade ELA teacher at North Andover Middle School. In searching for jobs last summer, I was not set on leaving Providence because that is a community that really needs good educators, and I told myself that it would take somewhere really special to warrant relocating and moving for a new job. But I just hadn't found a school that really felt like home, that felt like a long-term home and a community that I wanted to be a part of for the rest of my career in Providence. And when I interviewed at NAMS, I really felt like I had found that. And so I really didn't hesitate when offered the job. And this year has been incredible. Like many others have said, I think North Andover is a really special place, a really special community. And I fully intended on staying here for the duration of my career, if I had the opportunity. So with that said, receiving the news that I would be cut, that my position would be eliminated last Friday, was heartbreaking and devastating, both personally and just thinking about the futures for all of the students that I've met and interacted with here in North Andover. In the short time that I've been here in North Andover, just this school year, I've contributed a brand new unit to the 8th grade ELA curriculum. I've added a final end of unit project to one of the existing units, and I have contributed a plethora of materials and really revamped and redesigned one of the most significant units of the year on Romeo and Juliet. I've also been in talks with the assistant principal about revamping the homeroom system, as I'm coming from Providence, where strong advisory systems are kind of the norm. And I had very big plans on continuing that work, both in terms of the 8th grade ELA curriculum and thinking about how to make homeroom a more meaningful time for the students at North Andover Middle School. I was also about to begin a crochet club for the spring, which a lot of students have been expressing a lot of interest in. So the thought that I, along with 39 other people, will not be able to make all these meaningful contributions for the benefit of the students of North Andover, I think that is heartbreaking. And I think I'm speaking probably for everyone when I say that, you know, for me, this is so much more than just a job. It's my passion. It is my life. I care so deeply for my students. And so my gut reaction when hearing the news was not, what am I going to do? Where am I going to work? But it was, you know, thinking about all the students next year that, you know, I've even gotten to know some 7th grade students, and knowing that I will not have an opportunity to have that impact and have those connections with so many students that I think could really use the empathy, the trauma-informed approach, and the emphasis on social emotional learning that I bring to the school community. And so, like others have said, I think that rethinking this decision, rethinking this budget should absolutely be a priority for the benefit of the young people, because they are the future. They are really the heartbeat of the town. And so that is kind of where I stand on this. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Matthew Ruthier, 61 Brentwood Circle. I apologize, I wasn't prepared to speak tonight, or I hadn't planned on it, but kind of feel the need to. I've lived in this town pretty much my whole life. I moved out of the town. I went to high school here. I moved out after college, lived in Haverhill for a number of years, started a family, and we decided to move back about 4 years ago because the school system in Haverhill was at the level it's at, and North Andover was at the level it was at. Like I said, I'm 5th generation North Andover. I have a picture with all 4 of my grandparents outside the Thompson School in a school picture. I love this town. I volunteered as a coach at various levels for sports, athletics, and I hate to say it, but the love for my kids is more than the love for this town. So the way things are headed in this town, I feel like I may have to leave, and that hurts me to say. And I hope that you reconsider the budget, and I hope that it all works out well for all the kids and teachers and everything else. But it pains me to say that we may be looking elsewhere because of what's going on in this town. And I'm not the only one who feels that way, because I speak to a lot of people who feel that way as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Erin Blanchard, 2001 Salem Street. I, too, had no intention of getting up here and speaking, but a couple people motivated me to, in the sense that I was reflecting on this earlier this week. I've lived in town for 12 years, over 12 years now, and I recall specifically when I moved here, I had a colleague who said to me, "Why would you move to North Andover now? It's such an expensive town. You don't have kids. You're not going to benefit from the town for quite a long time." Well, I now have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 8-year-old goes to Sargent. My 6-year-old is at ABECC. And I've paid taxes for the last 12 years to this town, not for the benefit of my kids until the last couple of years, but for the benefit of the community. And I grew up in a really small town in Vermont, no traffic light to this day, small town in Vermont. And I didn't learn about, I'm going to butcher this, but Proposition 2.5 until maybe 2 months ago when that lovely gentleman on the school committee educated all of us. I also wasn't born in 1980. I will fully admit that. But that proposition didn't exist in Vermont. So much of our tax dollars actually went to the schools. So I guess I have a couple questions. I'll follow up with you all in an email because I know you don't have to respond. But I'd love to know, like, what can be done to actually tax more to go to schools? And is that out of the hands of North Andover and truly at the state level? But I think about just the fact that I've lived here for so long, and I know it's been circulating around Facebook recently, which I frankly despise that social media platform, but I do it really for the town news and for my kids. But like Shannon mentioned, I apologize for not getting involved until now. But now it actually means something to me. I have an 8-year-old that I want to stay in this town. We have, thank God for my kids, that's how I've made some of my best friendships that I currently have right now. I'm not a teacher. God bless you guys. I didn't have to educate during COVID. I had a then 2.5-year-old and a 1-year-old at home. But you all are angels on earth, all of you. I don't care what grade you teach, you're all amazing. I work in financial services, and I understand very well the importance of working with a budget. So I totally respect what all of you guys are charged to do. But I also understand how to make sacrifices in certain areas for the benefit of something that has a better return on investment. And yeah, those decisions frankly suck, and I don't envy all of you for having to make that decision. But I'd ask you guys to put money where it is going to benefit this town, and it is our kids. And like Mr. Ruthier, who just mentioned, I don't want to have to move out of this town. I love this town. I threaten my friends that I will hunt them down and drag them back into town if they even think about leaving. And if anyone's watching on TV, you know who you are specifically. But I do worry about the long-term benefits of some of the poor choices that we've made. And I would just ask you guys, one, tell us how we can help you. I know that this is not going to be a favorable comment, but I'm okay if you guys increase my taxes if it goes to the kids. I don't want it to just go into some, black hole and then we don't really figure it out. But I think there are ways that we can make it work for our children. I think that there are people in this town that would support that if it went to the kids. But I also think there needs to be a little bit more transparency, and I will take ownership that I have not dug through everything. Frankly, I find some of the financials to be quite confusing, and someone that actually has an undergrad in finance, it's telling. But I'd love to know, where are we spending the majority of our money? Where can we allocate it other ways? And if you guys have the authority and ability to, I'd really appreciate you focusing on the future and the kids in this town.
Thank you.
Rebecca Cesarski, 498 Osgood Street. I know that all of you are in a very tough role. I do finance accounting for a living, so I understand the whole balancing of a budget and key things. One thing I take in is the cost benefit. Are you going to get as much benefit from cutting the numbers now as you will in a few years? What are the at-risk students going to happen to them? Out of district placement is on average $110,000 per year. And making larger classrooms are going to make the students that need IEPs more apparent and less able to service those kids. And that is going to eat into the budget even more. So I urge you, look at the numbers. Look back to 2006. When we cut the numbers, we lost accreditation, and the state had to come in 2010 and 2011 to evaluate our entire school system. And then how much did it cost us to bring it back up to a good school system? Is the cut today going to be worth it for the kids and for the town in a few years? Is it going to be easier to defend bringing it back up and having to pay more, or just putting the money out now?
Hi, my name's Mary Lacey. I live at 16 Ogunquit Road, and I've had 3 kids go through the North Andover public school system. I'm a second grade teacher at Kittredge. I think, been working in the school system since 2004, and I've held pretty much all the positions except admin. Haven't gotten there yet. I realize how, when you work your way up from the bottom, you realize that every position matters. And it matters, the custodians matter. The noon attendants matter. They make differences. I'm starting to write recommendations. The cream of the crop, they're heading south. They're getting out of Dodge. I have to write recommendations for students to go elsewhere. And these are not kids you want to lose. I've been in town for almost 30 years. You know, I'm lucky. I live in a nice house, and my house is valuable, which is nice. That's great. I don't want that to change. I don't want we know, and I'm not criticizing, but we know the schools have been underfunded for years. It's just always been that way. But times are changing. Costs are going up. Transportation costs, out-of-district costs, they're all going to increase. What I worry about going forward is what's going to happen next year? Do you really think that these costs are not going to go up next year? That's what I worry about is going forward. How many more kids am I going to have to write recommendations for to leave our school system? And 25 kids in a class, I know it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But you put in 1 or 2 with just any kind of behavior problems, and there goes your whole day. I'm just saying, I'm not whining, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that we've underfunded for years. There's not a lot of ways. Trust me, I work at Kittredge. We work when there's no lights on in the building. We buy our own stuff. It's fine. We don't complain. It's not a big deal. But we need a little help because I don't think things are going to change, and I don't think they're going to get better. And that's what I'm worried about going forward. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
I guess I will be last. Juliette Darmon, 32 Clarendon Street. So I'm sure you're well aware of the cuts. 40 teachers were laid off last Friday, and on March 31st, more teachers will be transferred out of their schools they have taught for multiple years. They will lose the connections they have made, and also a lot of teachers' hours will be reduced. So from 1, like if they're full-time, they will become part-time or 0.8, which is a huge detriment for us, for North Andover, but also for them. It will be a huge loss for them as well, especially like if you need to pay your mortgage, if you need that job to go from being a full-time to a part-time, that's a huge problem for those people. I would like to give you some concrete examples of what these cuts mean because I'm a concrete type of person. I will take the middle school as an example because I have the data. As of this week, we have 1,029 students at the middle school, and we have 87 teachers from my unit, Unit A, so it's teachers, counselors, and some people who also don't directly face the students, but work every day with those students. And we have also 2 nurses. With these cuts, there will be 14 less teachers in that building. So do the math. This is 73 teachers for 1,029 students. There will also be no foreign language at the middle school. We will most certainly, although I don't know the plans, but we'll most certainly have to do 2 teachers on a team, while normally we have had 5 teachers on a team. So the middle school is taking a huge hit. It's going to be a lot of students for very little staff. I also want to talk about the fact that we'll have 1 board-certified behavior analyst servicing about 100 students. I want to say that a lot of students need that help and need specialists to help them with behaviors. We had 3 of them. We cut 2. So we're left with one. These are things I think the school committee is, I'm sure, aware of, but I think the finance committee should be aware of as well. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Oh, you're going to come up? Okay, no worries.
Good evening, Jeff Arciero, 93 Wintergreen Drive. And want to speak tonight just to express a bit of disappointment in some of the comments that were made during the last Finance Committee. So first comment was something about the fact that, you know, it could be catastrophically worse. And I imagine now, after the press coverage that's happened, student walkouts, and 40 teachers getting fired, that that is obviously a regrettable statement and something that will be noted and not said again. The other comment that I want to speak to was there was a comment about the public says we're underfunded. We underfund schools. And I know the town manager was here last week and presented a number of documents. And I went through those documents, and it seemed like the most flattering data point that you could look at in that documentation was that the spending per capita on education was 6 out of 10 against our comparables. And that was the most flattering data point that I think that was in the documentation. I think if you then went to look at what else the town manager presented, as well as if you went to the DESE website, you would find there that it is facts that we are woefully underspending in the school department, whether you look at investment over and above minimum foundation funding established by the state, or if you look at cost per pupil, expenditures per pupil. Again, I think, you know, I've shared these stats in the past, and if I'm wrong, I would love to be proven wrong and shown the stats, but from that DESE website, it points out the fact that expenditures per pupil, there is something like, you know, statewide, 240 districts that spend more than North Andover, and only like 60 that spend less. And then if you look at the comparables, just our comparable communities, again, the stats that I was able to find on the DESE website, as well as a response that I received from Mrs. Lathrop in preparation for the tri-board meeting, showed that, again, our investment compared to our comparables was, whatever, depending on which data point you looked at, 9th or 10th out of the 11 comparable communities. So I just think it's important to for us to continue to talk about that. There's also been a lot of talk recently about the fact that we're having a 10% increase in the budget, right, from last year, and I understand that is factually accurate, but I think there would have to be some kind of acknowledgement that last year's budget was probably the wrong number to go with. I think even when you look at the audit that was conducted of the school department based on spending, you know, they pointed out the fact that it was maybe not the best decision to approve a budget that I think was only 0.4% over previous year's spending, right? So I think another thing the town manager mentioned last week, that it seems like government-wide we are underfunded. I don't think the town or the school department has a spending problem. I think we have a revenue problem, and I think we really need to, you know, try to get a handle on that for the future, and really bring that to the residents to make sure that, again, they understand that this is not a spending problem. It seems to be a revenue problem townwide. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I have so many things to say.
I know. Oh, you're going to get your chance.
Hi, my name is David Brady. I live in Manchester, New Hampshire. I am the art teacher, one of the art teachers at Thompson School and the art teacher at Kittredge. In the art room, I'm not just having your kids make macaroni art and coming home with smudged charcoal drawings. One of the things that I like to focus on is teaching these kids why a piece of visual media was made, who made it, what information is trying to be given to these kids. And I think in a world where these kids are inundated with visuals, they're not texting, they're using FaceTime, their social medias that they're on aren't like Facebook and Twitter where it's text-based, it's Instagram Reels, it's Snapchat, it's TikTok. It's all visual. They're on YouTube Shorts all day. They're being constantly flooded with these AI image and videos, and it's critical that these kids are given the tools to break down an image and what information is being given to them, why it's being given to them in the 21st century. I personally believe if we do not give these kids the tools to understand the world they're coming up in, they are going to be adults who cannot understand their world, and they are going to be then adults in this town who are voting in this town. They will have leadership positions in this town. So I think it's really critical, not just for the kids, but for the town to make sure that they become the most educated and well-balanced they can. And that's just from an artist's perspective. I know I and at least one other art teacher were cut last week. So I think cutting that and losing access to these 21st century skills that these kids are going to need is going to not just hurt them, but the town in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I am Deanna Dunn, 73 Brentwood Circle, and I won't reiterate all of the other wonderful things that have already been said. I also deeply respect the fact that we should continue to be a community that has a balanced budget. It's one of the things I love about our town. These changes that are being made to the school budget caught me off guard. I have been reading updates rather than attending, and the updates were vague at best, and I can't find the right word, devastated by the scope of the cuts that are being made. These changes are irrevocably going to damage the education of generations of our students. It's not a simple matter of making the line items balance. We are making changes that are going to impact our community, our property values, and all of the values we stand for. It has left me with a sense of visceral disappointment because I believe that the town cares deeply about all of those things. And all of these rallying voices are saying we need to find a different path. A reasonable one, but one that honors the commitment of all of our teachers. The fact that their connections support the children that are on the fringes. These are some of the most passionate teachers and subjects that reach the children that might be the more socially awkward, but have just as much intellectual potential. We can't erode what we have already built and backtrack, because we won't be able to recover from that.
Sure. If you can keep it. Yeah, if you just keep it brief, that's fine.
I will be sure. We're talking about money and people and other things, but there is something that we have not talked, and I am an expert in some way because I wrote my dissertation on this, and my dissertation was about parent involvement and school culture. And one of the things that have been broken lately is the school culture, the morale. There is no money to pay for that, but it's important to take into consideration. So if we don't fix this, the morale, the school culture will be another issue that needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to get up and speak? Okay. All right then. So for the public hearing, I think we move out of the public hearing and then have our discussion, or do we keep it within the public hearing? I'm actually not sure. You're not sure? Okay. Well, actually, it doesn't, our conversations, I think, are obviously going to be surrounding the budget, so it's not like our topic of conversation is radically different, whether we're in, the public meeting or not. Most of the public meeting, I think, is about conversation from the people who come here. Does anybody else feel any differently about that? Okay. Then what I'm going to do then, if no one else has anything to say right now, I mean, we all have a lot to talk about now too, and you have brought forward some new comments to other things maybe that we want to touch on, so we probably will in our own conversation. So I would take a motion to move out of public comment.
Public hearing.
Public hearing, I'm sorry.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Do I have a second? Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, hearing that, we officially are moving out of our public hearing. And what we need to do then is we have to move on to new business. It seems like old business for us, but it is new business because we do need to vote on our operating budget and our capital improvement plan. Now, I know Dennis is here, if we have any questions. Do you want to sit up here in case we have questions? Is that all right with you? I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot. Hopefully you'll just sit up there quietly and peacefully, but thank you. And before we actually, do move to vote, is there anybody who wants to make comments on the operating budget?
Aren't we supposed to make comments after we have a motion and then we discuss?
We can do that. We can do it either way.
Can I make a couple of comments, just
Yeah, absolutely.
reactions, if you will?
This is the time that we can actually have reactions and et cetera.
First, I want to thank everyone for their participation tonight and sharing their comments, and I want to thank especially the teachers for the contributions that they've given to the town and the students of North Andover. One of the comments, or one of the comments was asking us, what kind of people are we, or who are we? I will answer that I am a mother of 2 students in the North Andover Public Schools. I have 2 kids who are affected personally by the cuts that were made on Friday. 2 foreign language students who are very, passionate and excited about the foreign language that they've had. So please don't think that we do not understand these horrible, impacts. I'm sure I speak for the group. No one wants to see that happen, especially me. Not especially me, no one does. I will say in addition, one of the impacted teachers wrote a letter of recommendation for college for my son. So, all these teachers have impacted my kids' lives. I appreciate that. I very much value the contributions. So, please don't have it be an assumption that because we're in this really hard position and we have to make really, really tough decisions, that somehow we don't care about the kids of North Andover, because we do. We have kids in this district, so, or, some of us, at least I do. So that I feel the need to say that. I just want to add one other just answer to someone who said that they didn't know where the other dollars were going, and that was a black hole or whatever. You can go on the Town of North Andover website and look at the digital budget book and see exactly where the dollars are going. And if you looked at the material that we had in our meeting last week that compared us for all the municipal departments to our comparable communities, this money, we do not have a lot of money. The money is not going into some black hole or to other non-value added things. I think everyone values the fire department and the fact that they're gonna come save your house if it's on fire, and everyone values the police department and keeping us safe. So I just also feel the need to say that there's return on investment in all of those dollars, and our job is to, it's a tough one to figure out how we recommend spending those dollars. So anyway, I just
Yep, no,
felt the need
that's,
to say.
does anyone else have any comments that they want to make on top of that? Okay, all right.
I do.
You do? Great.
Just to add to your comment, my children, twins, they graduated last year, and they were home for spring break over the weekend, over last week. And they started getting the texts on Friday as soon as everything was going down, because they still have friends that are in different grades. And my one daughter looked at me, and I'll tell you, two of the teachers here that spoke, both my daughters mentioned, and I know how much respect that they have and had for you and still have. And my daughter looked at me and she says, "Mom, you've got to do something. You've got to do something." Everybody up here cares. Everybody up here deeply cares. Actually, that is why I joined this committee. I've worked for the schools for 24 years in 4 different districts in all administrative, and that's exactly why I wanted to join the committee, to see what contribution could I make? What can I do to help this situation? This situation, unfortunately, is a long time coming. It was compounded year over year. There's, many reasons that we could list, but there needs to be more funding for the schools, absolutely, and I don't think anybody up here would disagree with that. I do think it needs to come out like a market correction. It needs to be done. On the other side, though, if you're looking at the statistics, like somebody mentioned the middle school enrollment, if I look at the enrollment for this year, and it may be off by a couple because, enrollment changes every day, but this was, 1,023 for just the middle school, but projected for FY29 is 964. So, it's a big drop. So we can't throw, and I am acknowledging that they're underfunded, but we can't throw the exact same resources at less children. You know what I mean? It has to be a balance, which is what we're trying to do. It is unfortunate, and one of you wrote a recommendation for my child for college as well, and she was very emotional over it. So we are trying, and somebody mentioned we have a revenue problem, and quite honestly, that's what I see. That's what I see, is that we need to see what can we do to increase this revenue, whether it's through taxes or additional businesses or whatever it could be. But that is one of the things, at least, that I've observed, and I've only been here a couple months. But I just want to let you know, we are listening. We are trying. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to do it. But when we also have less students, we can't keep the same number of staff. And it has to, both things have to give at some point.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys inspired me. One thing I would love everybody to know, and you've said this very articulately, is that we do care about our children. And I think this board is actually pretty representative of the parents in this town. So I'll be a little vulnerable for a second, but I have a 6-year-old, and I also have a 9-year-old. My 9-year-old has extreme disabilities. So I hear all the special needs parents pleading and your concerns and your fears. I have those too. And so I just want everybody to understand that we do get it. This is hard. If I could actually be on the other side of this right now, I'd prefer that. But we're doing everything in our power to come up with a solution that meets all of the town's needs. And we understand that our children are an important investment, and I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that. And so just from one special needs child, and shout out to Sergeant, my son is in learning skills. He has the most amazing TA and teacher. And just know that we hear you. This is hard, and I hope that everybody can see that we are trying to come together as a community to do what's best for our kiddos. And so I am one of you all, and I get it, especially all the special needs parents who have come up. So thank you.
Anybody here?
Yeah, I'm going to say my name because we normally have name tags, but they're not here. So you shared your names. I'm going to share my name, and I'm sure anyone else would be willing to do that if you asked. But my name is Nancy Sarro. I don't have kids in the school system, but I have kids that went through the school system. And I have to say, the comments were very heartfelt and heartbreaking to me, and I take it very, very seriously. I think there's a perception that there's a slush fund out there, and I wish there were. I really wish there were. I want to address one person's comment, and maybe one of my colleagues can say more eloquently than me, but someone asked, I'd be happy to have my taxes raised. Someone mentioned that. That's wonderful. And the taxes are going to be raised because of this 9% increase as opposed to a smaller increase. The taxes are going to be raised for everybody, but we are limited by Proposition 2.5. The only reason we can raise the taxes is because we have not used the full tax levy. And so now we're getting closer to that by raising everyone's taxes. So everyone is going to be contributing, even to meet the budget that we're talking about. And maybe down the road, we could have an override and raise more than Proposition 2.5, and that might be called for, but there's just simply not time to raise support in the town for that, for this town meeting. And I think there are many citizens that wouldn't support that, and it takes time to build support for that. It's not just about the parents, it's about everyone else in the town. Some people who are struggling financially, particularly with inflation the way it is. So I guess I want to echo my colleagues that this is really hard for us too, and heartbreaking, and I just wish there were a slush fund, but unfortunately there's not.
Yes, I wanted to I was going to make some of those comments when we got into actually talking about the recommendation of the budget, but yes, I will echo. I read on Facebook and talk to people, and there does seem to be this feeling that we have all this money and we're such a rich town. That's simply not true. We are using to fund this recommended budget, well, if it will be recommended if we vote on it, the $68 million budget for the schools. We are using almost all of the excess levy capacity to do that, except for a tiny bit that we're retaining in order to be able to fund the teacher raises that will come next year. So we have to have that money, otherwise we'd be in this position next year. And we simply can't use free cash that is sitting there for emergency situations because, number one, that's how we got into this problem in the first place, is using one-time revenue funds to hire people when we then didn't have them the next year. So if we use the free cash, we, A, then are in a pickle again next year when the free cash is gone, and B, we're struggling, we're really in a problem situation if we have any kind of emergency, and anyone who's lived here for any amount of time knows we seem to have a lot of things come up. We have a gas disaster, a wildfire, a COVID, obviously. I mean, lots of things that require money, and we just can't be fiscally irresponsible and completely spend savings when there's no recurring income to fund something that's a recurring expense without recurring income. So yes, revenue, whoever said revenue is the problem, I agree, revenue is the problem. Well.
I'll say why.
Yeah, okay. I mean.
You ready? 2 years ago, we were looking at a big project in town called Royal Crest. The change in Royal Crest would have brought several $1 million a year, money specifically earmarked for the schools, like $2 million a year for the schools, just specifically for the schools. would have gone on for like 10 years. We wouldn't even be here having this conversation if that project had been voted through. Now, I'm not looking at you all saying, hey, you voted against that. I don't think that that's true. But I do know that it was voted down because, unfortunately, there weren't a lot of proponents there. There weren't a lot of parents there of kids who were there. People just didn't show up. They didn't think it was important. And it was easily voted down. It was really, really, really disheartening. And so when we talk about revenue, yes, when these projects come up again, if they come up again, you have to take it seriously and think, well, what are we going to do? I mean, that was absolutely heartbreaking to have that. So that's all I want to say about that, is you got to pay attention to those things. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is transparency. And I know it seems really, really hard because you all, obviously have kids and, you're occupied. And like when my kids were really little, it was like hard for me to pay attention to a lot that was going on in town. But right now, I have to say right now, and I was on the school committee for 6 years, from 2007 to 2013. And we had a finance committee that really wasn't quite as amenable as this one was. Some were better than others, but it was a little bit harder, more of a struggle. But it was difficult to get information out. Nothing was televised. And so when we say how do we get the information out to everybody, it was hard. But like now we have so much social media, we have everything online. All of our meetings are televised. There is no meeting that you can't see if you choose to see it. You don't have to be here. You can watch it later on CAM. And I have to say, our school department right now under Ms. Lathrop and our town, under our town manager, Rodriguez, they break themselves to get this information out to you. So if you want to know things, you can. They're online. They're on the website. They're on CAM. Pay attention. The information's out there. You can find it. And we work to try to get that information out to you. So it's a little frustrating when people say, we don't know what's going on, and when we try so hard to do that. The other thing I wanted to comment a little bit about is just a touch of why we are here, and I know that was touched on before. One of the issues with that is because we got a ton of money because of COVID. I mean, it was the IRSA funds. They were specifically from the federal government, and they were given to towns and schools just to help us remediate a lot of the problems that happened trying to educate kids during the pandemic. And unfortunately, what happened, those were one-time funds. It was like 2.5, maybe 3 years that funds were given, and they had to be spent by a certain amount of time. And unfortunately, those funds were spent on continuing expenses. They were one-time funds, and they were used unfortunately, for personnel, but not just personnel, but other things. And it was supposed to be temporary. Like I know we had, I believe we had summer schools, and people were hired to do things during the summer, and they should have been temporary positions, and that didn't happen, and that wasn't discovered until this time last year. A lot of how the budget was mishandled, and then there's really no other way around it. And so what we are doing, what has been happening this whole year, is struggling to find ways to address that problem and to discover what the budgets were really should have been. Like the comment that how much this budget is greater than last year's budget. I mean, you're right, that number is high. It's higher than what was allocated. So this budget is allocated at this amount. Last year's was budgeted at that amount. And yet, and there's a big gap. And one of the reasons is what was spent was outside the budget. Again, it was outside the budget. And that's why we are here right now, struggling with these dollars. I also wanted to express the heartbreak that I feel for you folks that were laid off. I mean, it's crushing, absolutely crushing for all of you. And I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that. That is the last thing that any of us wanted. And it is my hope that if we get through this year and we work hard at being conservative and prudent and have an actual goal and end, what do we do, that we will not find ourselves in this situation next year. I mean, I know that's what our town manager wants. I know that's what our superintendent wants, is for things to improve. And they will have the opportunity to improve if we work together and get through a rough time and look for ways to make things better. there's hope. Spending all our reserves doesn't work, unfortunately. We just simply can't do that. We have to have emergency funds. And we also have been spending, over the course of this year, a lot of our extra funds, like our Finance Committee fund. I know there's some other ones too that we have just simply drained because the money has to go towards the schools. So when you say, like, the pockets of money that we could be spending, we have been spending the pockets of money. They have been allocated more than once. So anyway, that's really it. I wish I could say that we could make it all go away, but I don't think that that's going to happen, not for this year. So my heart breaks for all of you. I feel it. We all feel it. Anyone else? You want to correct me if I've misspoken?
No, I mean, I was going to maybe say a couple words about why I guess I'm not advocating for the level services budget as much as, I don't like to see any layoffs or what have you. I think there's a couple reasons why I wouldn't recommend us I would say a couple reasons why I don't want to say no to the $68 million budget and instead advocate for a level services budget. And that's because we don't have the money currently. I'm not willing to suggest that we cut other departments' budgets because we've looked at those and they're very, very slim. So it would require an override. I am not saying that I'm not supportive of an override. I would like to, if we do ask the town to vote for an override, I want to make sure that we have adequate time to educate the entire town on the need for the override, that we consider other departments' needs, because just as an example, if you looked at the data from last week, the DPW, as an example, is very tight on their budget. Maybe they need something. One of the comments was you would be supportive of an override if the money only went to the schools. Well, there's other people in town who would probably only be supportive of an override if it went somewhere else. I mean, everybody has a different interest. So we need to look at it as an entire community. What does the entire community value and need? And put together a thoughtful, recommendation if we're going to go for an override so that we can get the whole town on board with that. And I simply don't think we have the time for that to do it for this fiscal year. And I'll couple that with, we know now, because we're using the excess levy capacity, that we will have to ask the citizens to vote for a debt exclusion for the Kittredge renovation, which I'm assuming everyone wants to see happen since you're here because you care about the schools, or if you're listening. And we will have a much more increased chance of success if we're going once with one ask. Debt override for exclusion, debt exclusion for Kittredge renovation, override for XYZ operational costs. Here's why we need it, and really have a thoughtful campaign, if you will, education for the entire community over a period of time, not over a period of a couple months. So I just feel that it's prudent to have more of a ducks in a row to recommend any kind of additional funding over the $68 million. I feel comfortable with the $68 million budget at this point in time. Probably should have said that after the motion, but anyway, I guess it doesn't matter.
That's okay. All right. Anybody else have any more comments about that? Because okay, so what we need to do is we need to vote on the overall recommended budget from the town manager, and we need that dollar amount.
Yeah, I don't have it handy.
I don't have it in front of me too, the exact dollar amount. Do you have that? Can you provide that for me, Dennis?
It is $136,325,652.
$2.
I didn't write that. Someone else have to do it.
You got that?
If you want.
Don't we say like as described and as outlined in the document?
Here, no, you can read the number. Unless somebody else wants to be the number, 6? So anyway, I will entertain a motion.
This is the favorable recommendation language. I always forget what language we're supposed to use. Or this is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
All right, I move that we recommend favorable action on the town manager's proposed budget wait, where's the number? Sorry.
Forget the comma.
It's 135?
136.
136.
$136,325,652.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right.
Any discussion?
Yeah, yes, do we have any more discussion on the town manager's recommended budget? Or have we exhausted ourselves?
Actually, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Again, new to it. So if we vote to approve that figure, is that locking in the figure for the schools at 68.2?
Yes.
Okay.
Because how that works is, she puts together the budget for the entirety of the town, including the schools. And then, of course, the schools take the money that was allocated towards them, and they spend it as they see fit, regardless of how they have delineated what they feel their budget is. I mean, that's obviously not best practice, but, internally, but it's theirs. It's theirs to spend. Then, yes, the short answer is yes.
And then it goes from here to?
Oh, to town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just, we vote approval, this is in our warrant letter, and this is so that the town knows that we have reviewed it, and we extensively reviewed it. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for our friend Dennis here? No? So if I see no more questions, then I'll ask for a vote. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the Finance Committee votes favorable approval of the town manager's recommended budget for 2026. Okay, next we have is we have to vote on the capital improvement plan. Yes, I know. Please do not leave.
Sorry.
And are there any details of the capital improvement plan? I mean, I was looking it over, and I was looking at the recommended projects. Are there any projects that were put aside, or, I mean, I don't know if I had the right things in front of me from the original recommendation. Was there anything that changed?
We changed a couple of things that were moved from the operating budget into the capital. So there was a vehicle for the assessor's office. There was 2 items in IT. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's 2 items for IT. It was 2 items in the assessor's office. They had previously been included in the operating budget. We moved them to the capital budget and funded with free cash to,
Okay.
it increased capacity on the operating budget.
Okay. Now, again, we'll need a dollar figure for that.
Yes.
Off the top of your head.
I do not have.
Is it in here?
It should be in the book. If not, I can get it.
In the booklet? Here.
But is that the updated?
Oh, this is not the
with a
updated
couple
version. This is
changes?
not the updated version.
Thank you.
I was trying to get it online, but it just keeps circling. I can't connect.
Okay.
There you go, Jeannie. You get to make the.
I don't actually have the
Oh.
number. Let me. Can I just look at the book?
Oh, I have the. Oh, you said it changed because you had 2. I do have the book, but it's in my bag. I forgot.
I have the book, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's okay. I feel unprepared. But I don't feel quite as bad.
Oh, this might not have the update.
Right, exactly.
Let me. I can get the information. It'll take me about 5 minutes. Can I just run back to my office?
I mean, I'm just assuming that we need the exact number to.
I'm kind of assuming we do as well.
To vote approval.
Just give me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be
Okay,
back.
that's fine. All right, so while we're waiting on that, what we can do is, I want to give people who, because the next, we're going into old business, and it's a discussion of the warrant letter. Now, I did start a thing on the warrant letter. Did I give you one, Jean? And how about, you got one already? Did you get one of these? I don't know. Here. It's just, this is just a draft, it's just an initial blurb. Remember I talked about talking about how we got here. That's basically what this is. I numbered the paragraphs so that you could, if you wanted to refer to something, you could say in paragraph 1 or 2. It's just make it a little bit easier that way. But how we kind of need to do this is, I have sent this to Donovan also, but if you have corrections or comments, that's something that probably should go back to him and then come out again, so that we do this properly. But regardless, I mean, it's just like when we work on other warrant letters, it's just, it's a little different this time. I think that I can always, and I will put this in a Google Doc, or this old lady will have someone help me put in a shared Google Drive.
Did we find out if it was acceptable to edit on Google Docs?
I honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll pursue that more, or Donovan will, but.
I thought he responded, I'm just looking. I don't think so.
I haven't seen anything.
Can I comment on one thing that
Yeah.
I think, and maybe you just haven't gotten here yet, but I
Yep.
do think it would be nice to outline why we didn't vote favorable action on some of the other budgets that were proposed. So why not purple? Why not blue? Some of the key considerations.
Well, we didn't ever have the opportunity to even vote on those.
Sure, okay.
But I think it's worth talking about why we didn't recommend a level services
Yes.
budget.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what everyone wants to know.
But I do think it's also helpful to talk about what some of the key considerations were as we, as the finance committee, thought about some of the other budgets that were on the table.
Yeah, do you have some specific thoughts? Because, I mean, I know you put this up, now I'm saying, you have to write this, but that's, because you have something in your head, if you want to put it down, and it's just like, as an example to this, if you can make it as concise as possible. So, look at you.
I actually was kind of on the same wavelength, because then I just wrote down, even if we looked at the different
Thank
levels
you.
of the budgets, and then what are the impacts of it? Is it on the levy capacity, on the taxes?
Yeah.
On the SBA reimbursement, cause and effect, basically.
Yeah.
So if we had
It's the
gone
same-
to
it's the
that,
same as it was in the book.
what was it gonna be?
Yeah, well, at
So-
least the total is, I don't know, maybe there's shifts.
It's right at the 15, right? 15, 234. Anyway, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you put that together in 6 sentences or 2 paragraphs, of something like that? If you want to give that a shot, and then just we would add it to this, because what I was thinking after this would be how are we funding? Because I just put in how did we get here? The next would be
we definitely-
Right.
how do we fund it? And also that blurb where the town manager put together what the sacrifices that other municipal departments have made to help us fund what we did fund, because it's significant. I want to put that in there also, but I think that's great. That's a great idea to put that in there.
Because I think it would be helpful
Well,
for the
maybe
public
it's
to
so
see.
too.
How do we get here? What were the options considered, pros and cons?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why are we recommending this one?
Yeah.
And then how do we fund it?
So we,
And then
okay, so how do we get here?
implications.
What were
I think we
options?
should.
That? Sorry,
So after what were options,
pros and cons.
pros and cons?
I mean, from a fiscal.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's not our obligation to say the pros and cons of numbers of teachers being laid off or whatever. It's the fiscal implication,
Impacts,
pros and
yeah.
cons or whatever,
Yeah.
I feel like.
Right.
And for us to comment on.
Does anybody want to take a piece of one of those? Take a stab at which?
I can do something.
You can do something?
I actually have a lot of questions, and I'm going to be meeting with the town manager next week, just briefly to get some clarification for myself.
Yeah, that's a good
But I
idea.
think once I do, I'll be able to contribute to that,
Okay.
if you'd like.
Because, that's I'm looking, where's my agenda? When are we meeting next?
We have a week break and then
We meet again, okay. April 7th, yeah, I see it here. Because we
And
need to
when's
get.
this letter have to be done? Like the second week of April.
Yeah, second week of April. So whatever it has to be done, that's why I wanted to have something tonight.
Yeah.
So that we have a start. So it's we have to get this done as quickly as we possibly can. So whatever thoughts that you have, I mean, yeah, I agree with you, getting more information is good. But whatever thoughts you have, let's put them down and let's start coalescing them. So that, you know how it is when you have an outline, you feel like you're more motivated and it's easier for you to write more. Because we really have to get it together. And then we have to have an eye over everything to make sure that we do have the financials right, are the numbers right? Because I glazed over a few of the numbers in this one here, just because I didn't have them at my fingertips. And I'll rely on you numbers people to put them in. Like Regina, you always seem to know the numbers, so it's like, cool. Because one of my questions, I don't know, maybe you might know this, you might not. The ESSER monies that we received in the town, the schools received, I think they started in '21. Do you have that information?
I don't have the data on it.
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, do you?
Yes.
Because that's obvious, that's important to know.
So there was, for ESSER, there was an ESSER 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And before that, they had I forget, it's going out of my head. But there was another thing that was part of COVID that was the first initial, outlet. And then they had ESSER 1, 2, and 3. For ESSER 3, which came latest, it had to be committed and spent by December of last year.
Right.
But you were able to start using it as of, I think it was FY22. And so ESSER 2 was before that, and ESSER 1 was obviously before that.
But do we know the total that the school received?
I don't know the total.
Yeah.
That is actually one of my questions.
One of your questions? Oh, good, because
Yeah.
that's one of my questions, because that's really where we got ourselves into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
We can
Use that
get
very
that
royally.
information.
Yeah.
I just don't have it with me tonight,
Yeah.
but we can get it.
Okay. It's just,
Well,
because it was millions. I mean, it was
I know.
a big amount of money, and it was just like, woo,
I know, and that's unfortunately what was
Yes.
the Band-Aid and kind of the issue, really.
Well, it was-
Because it didn't
Yes.
rise to the surface
There
because
was-
you had that too.
There were a lot of problems around,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So, okay.
Sorry,
Yep.
so point one, for how we got there, point one is ESSER funds were used.
Yes.
Point two is teacher contract wasn't properly planned for in terms of the new wages.
Yep.
I think point three is just rising, like, special ed costs and other rising costs that's kind of missing. Right, like the out-of-district placements and all these things that really skyrocketed.
FY24, the tuitions for out-of-district placement statewide.
Right.
We knew this a year ahead of time. We're going to go up 14%.
Okay.
Usually it's like 2%. But for that 1 year, and we knew this a couple of years in advance, it was going to go up 14%.
So 14%.
The cost of transportation statewide, again, has exponentially gone up. So when somebody mentioned that one of the out-of-district placements, we literally have one that's almost 300,000. Then you have a one-to-one for them, and then you have transportation. So you can have students that cost 60,000, and you can have students that cost 350,000.
Right, no, that,
yeah. And
so that was like this horrific blip.
And the out-of-district placements have gone up, the IEPs have gone up, the EL population has gone up, yet the enrollment's gone down. And our funding for Chapter 70 is going to be based on that.
Yes.
And
so can I say this? I'm not saying that we're here yet, but I just want us to stay disciplined with this and not get too wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering the audience. Because it's easy for us to get deep in the woods, in the weeds.
I agree. I totally agree.
So we're, what's the headline on each bullet point?
Right.
Because if not, we're going to lose the audience.
That's where I was saying, like, 1, 2, and the missing, like, 2.5 is the three reasons: use of one-time funds, teacher contract not planned for adequately, and rising costs.
Yes.
Those
And
three
maybe brief
things.
details around it.
Those three things.
so
Oh,
it
and
makes
for mismanagement.
Yes, and then mismanagement.
I mean,
Yes.
those things are how we got here.
a decrease in Chapter 70 funds based on the enrollment.
See, the thing is when you, unfortunately, when you put that in, it's like no one, that's like
too
much.
much.
It goes,
That's too much.
it goes like,
I think we need to keep it like super layman's terms. Like,
yeah. That's what I was striving for this, so someone, you can just read it and you're like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have errors in the dollar amounts, but,
I'm
yeah.
also wondering if, sometimes I feel like a picture tells 1,000 words, and, when you talk about like how much of the budget was covered by the ESSER funds, as an example, is putting that into a paragraph going to be as jump out to people as much as perhaps a bar chart showing here was the budget, and this amount was covered by ESSER funds. And the ESSER bar goes
think
down and
both.
down.
I think both.
So I think the more we can use some visuals.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
I
that's
think-
what Brianna was
yeah,
talking
I
about.
think we should do, to your point, both. We have an infographic. It's a one-sheeter that has visuals that's sort of pulling out the most important pieces of this. And then you can go to the written paragraph to learn a little bit more information.
Yeah.
But I still think, again, even the paragraph form needs to be the quick hits and not get too in the weeds where then the points get lost.
Well, and I mean, just as like, just a nit to give an example, like, should we even say ESSER funds? We should just say grant funding. That's what it was. It was grant funding.
Well,
You
it was
know, like,
COVID-related.
COVID-related grant funding.
Actually, you
whatever.
know what that
we
was?
need it
That
to
was
be
like a copy
very-
and paste right from the ESSER site to say, what is this?
I don't
Yeah.
mean to pick on.
No,
but
you-
I'm just
that's okay,
saying,
you're
as an
supposed to.
example,
Yeah.
like, we need to be
Yes.
really high level.
Yeah.
You know, like, not talk about Chapter 70, but talk about state funding or whatever.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Because
Exactly.
Chapter 70, a lot of people.
Yeah.
don't be
I
like-
mean, because the nuance to that is a lot of that funding for special education is like, we are legally bound to do it. We can't decide not to fund it. We have to fund it. Out of district, there is no choice. We just simply must. I mean, and that's, that's what makes the huge pressure everywhere. Not unlike the teacher's contract. I mean, it's just like, yeah, they got their contract, they got their, that's great. And we are required by law to fund it. It's not like we can say like, oh, we don't have the money, sorry, we're not doing that. No, that's not the way that works. So where does that money come from? Other places, unfortunately, within the school budget. But go ahead. Get something? No?
So what else aside from this, because for 2 meetings, we've been just talking about this. Are we
Yeah.
going to talk about the other things, the other warrant articles, the other?
That's
you know what I mean?
that's the thing. Is there anything else that, I mean, because I got to say, how long do we want to make it?
Right.
I mean, and Donovan, I'm sure will get in on that. But, and typically, we've written a whole page on all the other things, but I don't know. There probably are other areas that we want to touch on, but.
Well, yeah, we need to, I think in our letter, we definitely have, all this discussion is just for the school section of the letter. I feel like we still have to say, I don't have to be verbose, but we need to
Yeah.
talk about the other
I think
departments.
that's important because we're forgetting in some ways that
Yes.
the school budget is a piece of a larger budget, and it's a puzzle, and we're trying to figure out how all the pieces work together to do what's in the best interest of the entire town, and that's tough. It's
Yeah.
really hard to do. So I do agree. I think we need to also talk about the other pieces of this puzzle.
Well, then we all have, if we had those pieces last year, we're going to take them again.
So I'll look at last year's.
Okay.
And I'll jot down what, and then I'll look at this year's and
Okay.
see if any jump out. Like maybe we do leave something up because nothing happened.
Right, okay,
There's nothing,
that's fair,
you know.
yeah. And do you know the cut piece that,
Yes.
was that,
yeah.
use that as a guide,
Exactly.
do you know what I mean?
Yep.
That would be great, put your eye to, and if you think like, hey, we really need to blow out more on
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot more than we usually do, so.
And I can work on the visual of
Okay.
the information that we all align on,
Yeah.
that we want to have included.
Let's see, we'll just brainstorm.
And have a lot of the details where you have little XX.
Yes, that would
kinda
be,
have some of
that's
those details,
fantastic,
yeah.
yeah.
So also, last time we talked about an FAQ section, and I think I had said I would work on that, but I just want to see, in light of this discussion, if we still want to go that route. For example, one question could be, why did you not recommend the level service budget? Does that make sense to put into an FAQ or not? Do you think it makes more sense to cover it
Well,
through
that's
this?
not a bad
Oh, well,
idea
if we
for
do that, we
saying
don't
like,
have to put these options.
yeah, but I mean, as like, what were the options? Do the FAQ there. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, because I actually, I don't think we should go into all the options. I think we should talk about the one we're choosing and why we're not recommending level services. So either we put it in the letter or we put
That's
it
not
in the
a bad-
FAQ.
if you
That's
wanna
fine.
put
What are the other
something-
FAQs?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the, I mean, I feel like we all need to kind of jot down what are the key things we think we need to be in the letter, and then we figure out where does it best fit. Like,
Yeah.
Or also what stays and what goes.
Right,
Yeah, that's
right.
right. But you're right, once we have all the pieces, we can figure out how to knit it together, but it's
Yeah.
just like, it's like getting what, the stuff is in our brain out, because
Right.
we're all over the place.
Yeah.
It's a little
I know.
different than other
It's
years.
very hard to write a paper as a
Yeah.
5-some or 8-some. or
Oh, look
however
what
many
I
people
did,
you-
huh?
Well done, Chris. We just nominate you. Write the letter.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I second that.
How quick that happened. huh?
How quick what happened? No, because I know Donovan will be doing it, and he and I, as you know, with other or I'll inform you, is other ones, we've had all the pieces and then I've knitted them together, so the language was similar and the abbreviations were similar and, you know, all that sort of thing, grammar and all that stuff, put it all together. But, and then he always reviewed it and to make sure it was correct. That's what we've done for the last couple of years. But the bits and pieces are really important. And then we knit it together, so.
Why don't, what do people think about each person kind of write what the key questions are that they think need to be answered and like write a short blurb to answer them? I don't know.
That's
I don't know. I
that's a
don't
good
want us to
idea.
all duplicate each other.
Right.
But that's okay, because if it overlaps, that means it needs to be in there. That's not such a
Yeah, I
bad
mean,
thing.
I don't mind taking the notes if we want to come up with that
Yeah, let's
list
just
now.
brainstorm the list now.
So I'll tell you
Yeah.
what I have
Just-
on my list so far for FAQs. Why did we not recommend the level service budget? Why can't we use free cash?
Yes.
What else?
What are the implications of using the full levy capacity on?
But I want to make
this-
sure we don't
this year?
duplicate, you know, we don't do
Yeah,
this
then these are things
and
we
double
need to
count.
get in there, and then we decide, oh, is it an FAQ or is it in the letter?
That's what I think we do. Outline what are the key points,
Key
and
points
then
that
we'll
need to be
figure
in
out
I'm sorry,
where they
implications
live.
Of using the full levy capacity instead of just a portion?
Which we're not doing.
Yeah, and
Right.
here's the question, why can't we just do an override?
Well,
As
that's
in,
why we're
well,
not doing the level services.
no, but I mean, but logistically, what does that mean? It's like,
Oh.
we can't just propose an override. We know that you have to go to town meeting, and it has to be voted in a town meeting, and then it has to go to the ballot. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, that, those sorts of things. It's not just like the finance committee that can say, we're doing an override right now. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
Well,
Right.
what other departments were reduced?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
What are the reductions in
you know,
other departments?
You think that we didn't touch anything else, other departments were reduced.
Yeah.
Yes.
In order to just get to where we're at.
Yeah.
I was kind of envisioning it similar to this.
Yes.
Where you'd have the, level services and then maybe the purple budget. And I know what you're saying, not to get too detailed. And then the 68.2, but okay, if we did the 69.174, what were the implications of that? Like, was it, we're using the full levy capacity, we'd have to go for a town vote immediately. If it's 68.2, we're putting that vote off for another year, so we have time to garner the support, see what other departments need things, so we can make it more complete, that kind of thing. So I think it would be easy to understand for other people if they say, okay, well, it was a toss-up between this and that, and this wouldn't have gone through.
Okay.
But that's the case for anything above 68.2, right? I mean, if we instead of went with 69 or 70 or 71, it's all the same implication.
But they
It's just-
specifically, maybe I misunderstood, they specifically lowered it, so we didn't have to go for a town vote, correct?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like the question is, why did we not fund something above 68.2?
Yeah.
Level services or more than level services or like, or 70 or whatever.
Right.
It's all the same answer. I guess I just worry
Well,
about.
not entirely though, because I think what you're saying is like, that if we did the level services, that clearly would have required an override. But if we didn't quite use the full levy capacity. We
Yeah,
got
we
very
weren't willing to
close.
go to
That was the question of why didn't we use the full levy
Yeah, yeah,
capacity?
yeah.
But
So I
anyway,
think we
so I
have
was
that
getting at the
covered.
same point, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we kind of have that quite covered.
All right, and we can think more about this. I want to let Dennis go home, so we should vote on the CIP.
So I apologize about earlier, I misspoke. The capital plan that's in the budget book that we previously distributed is the correct amounts. The changes we made were previous to that distribution.
Okay.
However, the sheet that I just passed out to everybody, we are currently working on updating the budget book, so there is one change from the book that you previously received to the sheet you have, and that relates to the funding for capital for the sewer and water enterprise funds. In the budget book, there was a handful of items that were previously debt authorizations, and now they're going to be utilized, retained earnings from those funds.
Okay.
So does that change the number that we already voted on or not?
No, we haven't.
We didn't vote yet.
No, I know we didn't vote on
Yep,
this, but
no,
it doesn't change the operating, okay.
It doesn't change that.
The operating
no,
budget.
Doesn't
Okay.
change the operating budget, and it doesn't change the amount for the capital plan. It just changed the proposed funding.
So the capital, the CIP is the 15
15
million?
point, yep.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, so I am going to call for a motion to vote
I will move that we recommend favorable action on a capital improvement plan budget for FY '26 of $15,234,998.61.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. done.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Sorry.
Ah!
So close. So close. Maybe you don't have this information, but six-wheel dump truck for $350,000, is that more than one truck? It's, sorry, it's here in your,
I believe that is one dump truck, but in the back of the budget book, there's the request, all the requests are the, you'll see the sheet on each one of them.
Okay.
And,
They're all in here.
yeah,
Quotes.
so the supplementary information will show the detail on what that individual item is. I believe it's one, though. I don't know that for a fact, so don't quote me
I
on
will
it.
check, because it looks more
Yeah.
like five, because they're about 75,000 apiece, so.
It's certainly not five. But
I
let
have
me-
the book.
We'll
yeah.
take a look.
I can, again, I apologize. I should have,
It's on this back. Gonna go back and he's gonna yell at Melissa.
Yeah, I think it depends on.
or maybe it's two.
What kind of truck.
What'd you say?
know,
Yeah.
Like what the
Page
specs are, and
235?
what they're
Oh, it was
gonna
there.
accomplish with
I
that.
don't know, I own five of them, I haven't paid more than
Wait,
80,000
how
for
do you
one.
find
It's-
that
Maybe it's a,
Oh,
maybe it's
this
a
one?
bigger truck than.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
It's
if
likely a larger.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, sorry.
okay. Oh, what did you give us? Was it this? Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
Maybe this should have been made during the discussion portion, but just to make the point, since I was engaged with a dialogue with someone in the community on why we don't put a greater percentage, well, maybe I don't want to misrepresent the person's comment, but it was regarding how much of this capital improvement plan is related to the schools, and are they not getting their fair shake? And I explained that, you know, in any one given year, the needs are different, and there's a whole process for prioritizing the requests that's very well explained in the budget book, in the capital improvement plan section. So just if any person in the community is interested as to how these items got selected for this year, you can look in that capital improvement plan section of the budget book, and it really explains well. You could look at last year's budget book, I'm saying, to see the process of how those are prioritized, because I pointed someone to it today and reread it myself, and it's very thorough, and obviously, you know, certain departments get more in one year versus the next, but if you look at a series of 5 years, you know, they kind of all get their share, so. Anyway, just a
Okay.
point to share with people.
Now that we gave Dennis a break, do we have any more you want to add to the warrant
Oh,
letter?
yeah. Let's look at this list again.
I mean, we can think about this too, and send things to Denovan.
Are we able to find out if we can all work on a live sheet?
Yeah, I'm not
'Cause
sure.
I think
I'm
that
honestly
would
not
be
sure.
It would be
helpful.
so
It
helpful.
would be,
Yeah.
I agree, it
Yeah.
really would be. I'm not sure whether that's considered deliberations or not, but let's,
We're gonna have to ask.
Yeah,
we gotta
I think
ask.
we should ask, yeah.
That's most effective.
ask Melissa and see if that,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I have to get in touch
I
with
mean,
him anyway.
if we can't, what's the number that can deliberate? 3 or 4? Because maybe it makes sense to just have 3
Yeah,
or 4
chunks.
people.
Yes, I think
work
actually
on
that, yes,
one
you are
version
correct.
of the sheet that's like the school section, and then the other 3 people could work on like the whole rest of the sheet
Mm-hmm.
with what we're gonna say about the other departments and whatever, and that way.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right, because Denovan and I worked together, obviously, to make the warrant letter for the past 3 years
Yeah.
or so. So yeah, that you're exactly
Yeah, I
right. As
think-
long as
I
it's not a
think
majority of
3
the committee.
can work.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the majority, so even 4 really.
Yeah, even
but,
4. Yeah, okay,
So that probably makes
yeah.
sense.
We'll try to be
What do we
as
think?
meticulous about it
If
as
we
we
can't
can.
all do it?
And not only that, I mean, it's like, you know, if we bring them to meetings and we talk about them, I mean, this is like the best thing that we can do, is discuss them during meetings and, you know, try to bring up what we have here. So, anyway, I mean, I want to see edits to this too. I mean, obviously Jeannie's gonna add in some numbers, but anyway.
So, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused on the process. So if we want to edit what you did, are we waiting to see if the Google Sheet thing is going to work, or should we send those comments to Donovan?
I think for the moment, definitely do edits and send them along to Donovan.
Okay.
And then, and we'll have, and maybe we can formally parse it out. But I would say definitely make your edits and send them to him, because he can send them to me and I could put it in. Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? That's, if it's just you or it's just two people, I think that's gonna be, for the moment, the reason that I'm saying it this way.
Each one of us should send?
No, I'm just saying, if you have edits and you want to do the edits, I just don't want them to be forgotten or not done because we're worried about how we handle it. I want you to do it, write it down, and send it, at least send it to Donovan while we're working to get that resolved. Because I don't want it to get lost in the shovel, and we have a limited amount of time. Does that make sense?
Is
Yeah,
Donovan
and then
the
he can
owner of
just-
this
he can
document?
just- If it's a duplicate, he can just say, okay,
Yes.
well, I saw this one.
I mean, we can make him be the arbiter of like what exactly gets put down
Right.
there.
But
But
at
if
least
we,
everybody's getting in there.
yeah, getting it in there, ideas and what it should look like. And then, we can divvy up, when we feel like we have something to divvy up, we
You
can
started
divvy it
the
up.
conversation with that
Yes.
sheet, and now we can all elaborate.
Yes. Does that
Okay.
make sense? I mean,
So on the FAQ, should I take a stab at them and send them to
Yes.
email, or just bring them to the next
Yes.
meeting in
Why don't
hard
you do that?
copy?
well,
Which-
actually, I sent this to Donovan, but he wasn't gonna be here, so it's not like he can disperse it so I would send it to Donovan.
I think if you took a stab at writing those, if you're comfortable with doing that, and sent it to Donovan, and then he can say, oh, this one fits here, or this one let's leave as an FAQ, or he can kind of like
Yeah.
put it in. Maybe if anybody has.
And by the way, and I'm sure if you send it to him, he's going to be bringing it to the meeting too.
Okay, so I would want feedback from the whole group.
Yes, I feel the same way, so, yeah. Okay.
So just send it to them.
Life is so complicated.
I have, so in Massachusetts, Weller's knows, and I just put in for school committees because I'm figuring it's the same regulations, right? There's no specific regulation about using shared Google Docs. School committees must adhere to the open meeting law, which means discussions and decisions must be made publicly. Using shared docs for quorum discussions could violate this. Just a
Quorum discussions?
Well, so less than 4?
So, yeah,
Okay,
we have to have less than 4.
we have to have less than 4. Okay.
Using the Google Doc.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, we could have
Or
one for
4
the
or
school
less.
and one for the town,
Right.
too. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes. Okay. All right, well, we'll try to be cognizant of that going forward. All right, so we also have to vote on minutes, but do you want anything else you want to bring up about the warrant letter that you think we might be doing? I know it's confusing.
Should we be putting some due dates around certain things, just because we are
That's a good idea.
running up against the clock?
Yeah. And I don't have that. Donovan has that. I do not.
So the
Okay.
CPC is coming to the next meeting, I
Yeah,
assume?
I believe so.
And that's the only other major article that we have to like make recommendations on?
Yep.
I'd say probably by the end of that week after we talk to CBC, right?
Yeah.
Or is it the same date?
Oh, God. Well, I think Donovan's just going to be begging for more time is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So we meet on the 7th.
We meet on the 7th?
Yeah. So by then, I think if we say middle of April, 12th to 15th, so yeah, I think after CPC, then we'll have one more chance to talk about it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So they don't give us 5 days to.
Yeah, and get
figure
our
out-
final cuts. So that's why I encourage you, like, if you got stuff you want to write down, do it now. I mean, like, don't wait for like somebody else doing something, get it down.
So, sorry, Chris, but
But-
should we just divide into groups of 4 right now, so that this next week we
can
can
do that,
start
but-
working on it?
Sure, we can do that right
I want
now.
us to come to the next meeting with
Right, with
something
something,
to share.
I agree.
All right, so I already started with the schools, so I'll take on the schools. Who else wants to be on the school?
I'll do the school with you.
I'll do it with you. Yeah.
Brianna and Jeannie. How about you, Regina? Do you want to do schools or do you want to do the
Well,
other side?
I'll do the other side.
Okay, so we have Brianna,
Do we need to stay below 4, though?
Jean,
What's
we
our
should have
total
4
number?
9.
9?
Brianna, Jean, Chris.
I don't know how
Because
much a quorum
Donovan's
is.
gonna see it, so that's why he has to count, so it really needs
That's
to be
true.
3.
Brianna, Jean, Chris, so that is schools.
I'll do the other side of the agreement.
So you're going to do the, so Muni, we'll call it Muni, town, whatever.
I mean, I helped Donovan make the whole thing flow last year,
Yep.
I think. So I could do that, or I can do the other side.
I was already.
Yeah.
Well, were you doing FAQs on the school budget?
Well, I was, but now I'm wondering.
No, then why don't you do that?
Yeah, I can wait, because if you guys want, I'll put it all together in a visual, so if you want to count me out as not one of the three for right now,
Start,
you
okay.
three get the main
All right.
points down on paper,
All
and then
right.
I can come back in later.
All right, so we'll add Nancy to that.
All right, so then Dustin, Keith, and me will do the non-school part?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that's good for me.
Do the town section, okay.
And actually, I think Eva said she's done infographics before, so she and I can.
Who?
Ah, Eva.
Oh, Eva, right. Oh,
So you and Eva will do the
So that's,
infographics
so you
for the whole
two, so,
thing.
okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
Eva
okay.
and Brianna can do infographics. All right. God, we're making so much crazy work for yourselves. This is nuts.
I know. The sooner you guys can get us the points that you want to cover, the better, because the
Yeah.
visual takes a while.
No, actually, this is good, so we'll just concentrate on that. So I will work on getting this piece, into a Google Doc, and get it to you two, you three, two, three.
So we're just gonna do this through Google, we're not gonna do a meeting, we're just gonna do this through Google Docs.
Yes, I mean, that was-
I should put this on Google Docs as well.
Yes.
How about I can figure out how to do that?
Just forward it to me and I'll do it. Okay.
What, you're gonna put it on Google Docs for me? What do you mean forward to?
Yeah, just forward it to me and I'll open it up and put it on there.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeannie, Nancy, and Chris.
So with the Google Docs, would this be in our finance folder, like visible to the, no, this would be a separate, well, it's still a work in progress, we wouldn't.
Well, here's the thing, I think we can probably read them, but we just can't be working on it collectively outside of a meeting.
No, but I'm just asking what.
Is it gonna be
What
public,
folder
you mean?
it's gonna be
Yeah.
in? Is it gonna be in our normal
Oh,
folder
can
or
we read them?
elsewhere?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look at open meeting laws,
Yeah.
so, or call Melissa. Anyway,
Okay.
well, I'm meeting with her Monday, so I can ask her.
Oh, there
Okay.
you I think you guys would put it in a separate drive.
I do too.
Like your own
Yes,
personal.
yeah, yes, I
create
do
it
too.
your own.
I do too.
Okay. No, actually, I do have Google.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do have a Google Docs folder that I use, so.
Okay. All right, so we
Just
have,
share it. You put it wherever you want, and then you share it.
yes, that's right.
Yeah, so I'll just put it in my own and share it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, do you know who you're sharing it with?
Yes, you and you. Right?
Well, Dustin, Keith, and,
No, just
you're,
the
that's
three of
right,
us
the
were
three of
gonna
us,
do it
yes,
first,
yes, okay. Yeah, don't listen to me. All right, we need to vote approval of minutes. We have open session minutes of March 18, 2025. Do I have a motion? And do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so all in favor, say aye. Aye. And any opposed? No. Okay, excellent. So that's approved. Our next meeting date is April 7 PM, right here. And is there anything else on people's minds that they want to bring up?
Sorry, I have one question.
Yeah, no worries.
Does anyone know, there was an email that someone had sent probably a couple weeks ago now, that they were going to be doing a citizen warrant article about moving some funds into the special education fund. Does anyone remember
Mark
seeing
Rogers.
that? And was going to come to a meeting to talk to us, and when you said, like, how many other things are we gonna have to vote on? Are we going to have to vote on that? And do we know anything about what happened with that?
I don't know how that has progressed.
Okay, okay.
I know he's been in conversations with Ms. Rodriguez. I mean,
Okay.
it's definitely worthy. I mean, it was about the special education
Yes.
fund,
Yes.
which is starting to wrap into the finance committee fund. And I know that Melissa prefers that instead of having it as a special education fund, that it moves into the finance committee fund, just for the ease of use and.
More flexibility.
More flexibility, for making the funds available when they're needed. So I know she had conversations with Mr. Rogers about
Okay,
that, and I
okay.
don't know how that ended up, but bottom line is, if he was pursuing it, yes, he would need to come in front of us to at least to discuss it, because it is a financial article, and I don't know whether we would vote approval or not approval. I mean, it's going to be in the warrant, so I would assume that we would.
Okay.
We would, even though, I mean, let's put it this way, we could always do that at town meeting too.
Right.
If it comes in at the last minute, that's happened before too. I mean,
Yeah.
if it doesn't make the book, it doesn't make the book, so.
Okay.
But that's a good point. Okay, anything else? Thank you for bringing that up, because you're right, that's important. All right, well, if we don't have anything else, then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn?
Second? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? No? No. Okay. We are adjourned.